Morning television isn't supposed to feel like this. It's supposed to be bright, predictable, comforting. A place where coffee steams, headlines scroll, and laughter glides effortlessly across living rooms before the workday begins. That's the brand. That's the promise. Which is why the shock landed so hard. It wasn't a breakup announcement. It wasn't a scandal. It wasn't even a fight. It was a pause. And when Kelly Ripa paused, really paused, while speaking about her husband, Mark Consuelos, millions felt it. Not heard it, felt it. In the world of morning television, especially on Live with Kelly and Mark, emotion is usually choreographed. This wasn't, and that's exactly why it mattered. Let's rewind. Morning shows thrive on chemistry, banter, micro-glances that signal decades of intimacy. For over 25 years, Kelly and Mark have built a public love story that began on the set of All My Children and evolved into one of television's most enduring marriages. They've survived career pivots, network reshuffles, parenting 3 children in the public eye, the high-stakes transition of Mark stepping in as Kelly's permanent co-host. Each chapter only strengthened the brand. They're solid. But television is a rhythm game, and loyal viewers are expert rhythm readers. In recent weeks, fans noticed slight tonal shifts during personal segments, a more reflective cadence when discussing family, a softness, not sadness, but weight. Was it exhaustion? Was it nostalgia? Was it the invisible pressure of ratings in a hyper-competitive daytime landscape? The montage builds itself, clip after clip, micro-moment after micro-moment. And then comes that pause. Not long enough for alarm bells, but long enough for the internet. The cameras didn't zoom dramatically, but social media did. Within minutes, platforms lit up. Is Kelly okay? Something felt different today. I hope she and Mark are fine. Not accusations, not gossip, concern. That's the twist. In an era fueled by scandal, viewers didn't assume betrayal, they assumed humanity. Fans have grown up with Kelly. They watched her evolve from sitcom star to daytime anchor. They've watched her discuss marriage struggles openly, disagreements, parenting stress, long nights, humor as glue. So when her voice softened while referencing Mark, it didn't scream crisis. It whispered real life. And real life makes audiences lean forward. The art of the unsplit is subtle. It's the unspoken reassurance that long marriages are layered, that love deepens and complicates, that longevity isn't loud, it's resilient. Still, the zoom continues. Cliffhanger questions ripple through comment threads. Are ratings pressures weighing on them? Is hosting together harder than expected? Are vulnerability being mistaken for trouble? Let's talk about the elephant in every daytime studio, ratings. Morning television is no longer what it was 10 years ago. Streaming platforms, podcasts, TikTok clips, they've fractured attention spans. Legacy shows are fighting for relevance in an ecosystem that rewards viral chaos over steady warmth. For a show like Live, stability is both its strength and its risk. When numbers fluctuate, headlines quietly whisper, is the magic fading? Was casting a spouse a gamble? Is the format aging? But here's what low ratings, or even perceived dips, actually mean. They amplify scrutiny. Every pause becomes a potential storyline. Every tonal shift becomes speculation fuel. Every emotional moment becomes a think piece. Kelly's brief vulnerability didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened in a media environment hungry for narratives of fracture. And yet, there was no fracture, no dramatic reveal, no confession, no crisis, just reflection. That's what makes this moment fascinating. It exposes how audiences are conditioned to expect collapse whenever emotion surfaces. But long-term relationships don't collapse quietly on live television. They evolve, they deepen, they breathe. Kelly and Mark aren't a tabloid couple built on spectacle. Their public image is rooted in continuity. 3 decades, 3 children, shared careers, shared aging. That kind of history doesn't unravel in a sigh. It resonates in one. This is where perception becomes narrative, because in television, perception drives conversation, and conversation drives survival. There's something uniquely intimate about watching a married couple host a daily show together. You're not just seeing performance, you're witnessing partnership under fluorescent lighting. Viewers subconsciously track eye contact, timing, inside jokes, emotional sync. So when Kelly's voice carried weight, fans interpreted it through years of familiarity. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes emotion is just emotion. It can signal gratitude, reflection on time passing, the weight of shared history, the vulnerability of loving someone publicly for decades, not doom. In fact, what fans may have witnessed wasn't fragility, it was depth. There's a difference. And in an industry obsessed with dramatic splits, the real story might be the opposite. The art of staying, the art of evolving together on camera, the art of letting a pause exist without panic. Public perception versus private reality. One of Kelly's greatest strengths has always been balance. She reveals just enough to feel authentic, but never so much that the private becomes consumed by public appetite. That balance is delicate. Too polished, you're robotic. Too vulnerable, you're unstable. Morning television hosts walk that line daily. Kelly's moment worked because it felt unscripted. It reminded audiences that behind perfect lighting and polished banter is a human navigating the same emotional layers as everyone else. And Mark's presence, steady, attentive, unreactive, reinforced something subtle but powerful. Stability doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it just sits there, quiet, confident. Why fans responded with empathy, not scandal. This is perhaps the most telling part of the entire episode. No frenzy, no cheating rumors, no inside sources. Instead, timelines filled with encouragement. That says something profound about the relationship Kelly and Mark have cultivated with viewers. They're not watched because they're dramatic. They're watched because they're dependable. In a chaotic news cycle, dependability is rare currency. And perhaps that's why even a small emotional tremor felt seismic. When something steady shifts, even slightly, it commands attention. But attention doesn't equal alarm. It can equal care. The unsplit explained. In a culture addicted to breakups, the real shock is endurance. The unsplit isn't about denying tension, it's about redefining it. It acknowledges long marriages contain layers, emotional moments don't equal endings, vulnerability isn't weakness, reflection isn't crisis. Kelly didn't announce disaster, she allowed emotion to exist on screen, and in doing so, she reminded viewers that strength isn't stoicism, it's honesty. Final take. What this really means for the show. Will ratings fluctuate? Of course. Will scrutiny intensify? Always. But the longevity of live has never depended solely on numbers. It depends on connection. And ironically, that quiet emotional moment may have strengthened that bond more than any viral stunt could have. Because authenticity, even fleeting authenticity, travels. It lingers. It reminds viewers why they tuned in decades ago.